This is the Oklahoma Talking Company.
Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for coming round again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the OKC Show. I'm your host, Jason Baffrey. We're glad you are here. We hope you've been checking out Oklahoma Talking Co., that is oklahomatalking.co, to listen to the program and some of the other great programs that are on there. And of course, you can also find us on the iTunes podcast app, on the Overcast app on your smartphone, and also the Spreaker app on your Apple or other devices. I only use Apple devices, so that's the only one I can ever remember, but Android devices. So we hope you're listening and telling your friends about us. We have lots of great programs. We are joined today by Dr. Shauna Ortiz. She runs Frontier Family Chiropractic, which is a maximized living health center. And Dr. Ortiz serves on the Sports Performance Council. She has worked with the USA Wrestling Team, USA Judo, USA Weightlifting, and other professional athletes and teams. And we are going to talk today a little bit about the health and wellness of you and I and Oklahoma. And it's interesting that Oklahoma currently ranks 7th on the obesity rates nationally. And with obesity, of course, comes hypertension and chance for heart attacks and strokes, and cancer is increased with that as well. But what we're talking about today is an overall look at health. And Dr. Ortiz works as a chiropractor, but not just a working on your spine, but an overall arching look at your health. And Dr. Ortiz, welcome to the OKC Show.
Thank you for having me today.
Tell us a little bit about how you approach health and wellness with the Maximized Living process.
Well, with Maximized Living, what we look at is we look at what's called the 5 essentials, which number 1 is your mindset. First, you have to really truly know and understand what health is in order to truly obtain health. And then there's a lot of limiting beliefs that people have. People don't have big enough whys to even stick with the changes that or goals that they're wanting to meet with their health. And so that's one of the biggest things that we work on with our patients firsthand, because if you don't change your mind about your health, you're not going to change basically anything. The second essential is maximize nerve supply. Obviously, I'm a chiropractor, so that is what I specialize in. In our office, we specialize in spinal correction, making sure that your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves is talking to every single organ in your body, because that's what runs and controls all the healing and function in your body. So that's actually the first area that we look at with everybody would be the spinal nervous system. And then the next thing that we look at is what's going on in your nutrition. I think that's one of the biggest hang-ups that a lot of people have. Most people, think as soon as you hear nutrition and eating well, the only thing you can have is salads. And we're able to show our patients how they can actually eat healthy but still enjoy the things that they love in their everyday lives. So, and by changing that nutrition, we're able to help them with things like high blood pressure, cholesterol issues. I just recently had a man, even at 70 years old, was able to reverse type 2 diabetes just by following the nutrition that we taught him in our office. In fact, he came off of all 3 medications that his doctor had prescribed to him. Then we also work with you on a type of exercise that's high intensity, short duration burst training. It's called Max T3. A lot of people have a hard time with exercise because they feel like they have to spend an hour or 2 hours in the gym. And with what we teach them, it's only 12 minutes a day. And what it does is it resets your hormones, and it actually causes your body to burn fat for the next 24 to 48 hours. And so a lot of people get excited about that because that means your body's actually going to be burning fat even while you're sleeping. The fifth essential that we teach is minimizing toxins. We're constantly bombarded every single day with toxins in our environment, from the time we wake up and take a shower, brush our teeth, all throughout the day with what we're eating, the cookware that we're using, the lotions, all these different things add up, and they become a toxic environment in your body. And so we show people how to minimize those toxins, and then also at the same time how to get those toxins out of their body safely. So by putting all 5 essentials together, what we're able to do is not only get people out of pain, but most importantly, get their health back.
Let's talk a little bit about chiropractic for a moment. I think by now most people are familiar with what chiropractors do, but they've often gotten a bad rap. And, just personally, I have had great experiences with chiropractors. I was in a car wreck. Well, I've actually been in several car wrecks. None of them my fault, by the way. But one, I got hurt pretty bad, got whiplash, and I was in college at the time and started seeing a chiropractor, and it really helped me. And every time I go to a chiropractor, I feel better, when I leave. But chiropractors get a bad rap sometimes because why? Why do they get a bad rap?
Well, honestly, it started a long time ago with the American Medical Association and them attacking chiropractic and things like that. But I really think what's happened is people have lost sight of what chiropractic truly is. And that's one of my missions and passions, is to really get out and educate people on what it truly is, because most people see chiropractic as just solely pain management. It gives you temporary relief. You go in, you get a massage, the rolling table, electrodes, different things like that, and get adjusted and you go out the door your merry way. And what happens is it goes basically right back where it was, and then you end up in pain again. And so people feel like once you go to the chiropractor, you have to go to the chiropractor for the rest of your life. There's a lot of different things that go with that. But what we do in our office is very different. Number one, we make sure that we get a full spine exam. You always want to make sure that they're doing a thorough exam with you. And then if there's any x-rays that are necessary, then we go ahead and get those. But it's all about getting to the cause. And once you get to the cause and actually correct the problem versus just pain management, then it's a whole different picture. And there's a whole nother layer to chiropractic and the fact that we do work with the spine and nervous system. And what most people don't understand is that, for instance, I'll have people come into my office and I'll show them the nerve chart, and they've never ever seen that in their entire life. And this is how your body heals and functions. Your brain sends a message down the spinal cord over the nerves to every single cell, tissue, and organ in your body. So for your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your stomach and intestines to digest your food, that information starts in the brain, it goes down the spinal cord and out the nerves. So as a chiropractor, what we detect is any interference in that. So when you have pressure on the nerves or on the spinal cord, through the chiropractic adjustment, we remove that pressure. So for most people, they see that as, the chiropractor is going to get rid of my neck pain and back pain, but what they don't realize is that those same nerves also go to the heart and lungs. And so, there's a lot of people who are fearful of, going to a chiropractor and things like that. I understand. And I always take time to work with my patients and show them the table, what's going to happen, what to expect, walk them through everything. And I think it's mostly maybe the noise of it, possibly, that gets people. Yeah. And all it is just gas release now the joints. There's nothing really major happening other than that.
Yeah, I've been to a number of different chiropractors, and just for full disclosure, I have not actually been to you. So we're not doing an infomercial for me to promote you because you're my doctor, but I might have to go to you now because I could probably use some work. Nevertheless, I've been to different chiropractors, and some have scared me. You get into that neck cracking thing, and they give you the nice hard jerk, and it hurts a little bit, and it and I think there's misconceptions because we see so many movies of guys grabbing heads and breaking people's necks that we just assume that there's going to be a terrible accident and something like that's going to happen, but that's not actually the case. I mean, that's not what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely not the case whatsoever. We're highly trained in what we do, and there's a very specific way that happens. Really, with the noise that you hear with the neck getting adjusted, is the fact that it's so close to your ears. So throughout the adjustment, if I'm adjusting your mid-back or lower back, you do hear that popping noise, and it's gas release now the joints. But what happens is when we get up to the neck, it gets louder because we're closer to your ears.
Sure.
So, I mean, yes, it can be very intimidating, very overwhelming. And it's funny, I'll have couples and families that come into the office, and once they watch the other person get adjusted, they're like, "Oh, is that all you're doing?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, it sounded like the whole world was going to end for a second." So I completely understand that. It's just the noise of it. And honestly, I'd have to be able to lift like 3 or 4 tons. And obviously, looking at me, you can see that I can do that. I couldn't do that to really do any kind of harm.
Yeah. You talked about the nervous system, and I mean, it is the core of everything. We don't really think about that. And so how do you approach the interesting thing about chiropractic and what you do specifically with the overall maximized living plan, you're dealing with a lot of other things. And I mean, you can help people with allergies and other issues, not just, back pain.
Correct. So, with that, like I said, your spinal nervous system controls everything. So things like allergies, it's like, how in the world could, a chiropractor help me with allergies? Well, when you actually look at the spinal nervous system, what you'd see is that there's many connections between your nervous system and then also your immune system. It's called the neuroimmune response. And so they've done research where they showed, and it was actually done on HIV patients, that with every single chiropractic adjustment, your immune system is boosted by 48%. And it actually caused your body to release interleukin, which is what cancer patients go and they'll get injections of to help with their immune system as well. So every single time you get adjusted, we take the pressure off those nerves. It restores a signal from the brain back to the immune system. When you look at the immune system and you look at the nervous system, you can kind of think of like a gas pedal and a brake pedal. If the gas is on too much, then you're going to be extremely sensitive to a lot of different things in your environment. Well, if you have the brake on, then you'll have people who get colds a lot, get sick a lot. And so by balancing that out, making sure that they have the proper nutrients and things to support their immune system, then I've had patients who have allergies that have gone 50% away, 80% away, or I've even had some 100%. It just varies from person to person.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about the work that you do?
My favorite part is just really seeing smiles come back on people's faces whose hope has been completely ripped from them. I have people all the time who've come in who've been to 50 million doctors, and they've been through everything, and they come into my office not knowing why they're there and why would I go to a chiropractor. And, once they get all those wonderful health changes and just really seeing them getting their health and lives back, it not only affects them, but it affects their entire family. And so I get to see the changes that not only happen in them, but also in their entire life. I think that's the most rewarding thing.
Yeah. We should point out that you are expecting.
I am.
You are due like
October
now?
2nd.
Like
Yeah. She could technically come any day she wants.
Yeah. But we were talking before we started rolling. You actually work with a number of pregnant ladies during their pregnancy to help them get through that. And that's something that I don't think people realize that some chiropractors do, and you specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with pregnant moms all the time. For some people, it starts even before they become pregnant. I have patients who have come in to see if I could possibly help them get pregnant, and I've had that happen a few times, yes. But what I do is I work with them throughout their entire pregnancy in making sure that their pelvis, their tailbone, all of that is in perfect alignment, working on the ligaments so that way it makes it a faster, easier delivery on both mom and baby. So specifically, I'll have some clients send in to me that maybe the baby is breached, they're not in the right position, or maybe they may need some help with getting labor going. And so I do what's called Webster technique. And so I work on the pelvis, I work on the ligaments, and I work on the upper neck, which all work in tune with each other to make sure that the baby's in proper alignment. And that really, really takes a lot of stress off the mom's body and as well as the baby throughout the birth process.
Mm-hmm. And do you do that prior to the actual birth process? I mean, have you been involved in doing some births like at the time? Do you have to go in and spin
I've
the baby
actually
around?
been called out to a couple births before. I had one lady who she had 5 previous C-sections, and she actually traveled here from another state so that she could have a natural birth. And I had been working with her throughout the entire end of her pregnancy is when she actually came into me, and she had gone past her due date, and they were at the point in time where they were just going to kind of pack up the birthing pool and head to the hospital. And I said, wait, I'm almost done here at the office. I can be there in 45 minutes. And she literally had gone from having contractions and going through the process to absolutely nothing happening when I got there. Like, she was no contractions, no action, nothing was happening. And so I came in and I got her adjusted, and I did a few things working on ligaments and stuff like that and some different acupressure points. And then she started having contractions again. Within 5 minutes, they became closer and closer, and they got harder and harder. And within 4 hours, she went from having absolutely no contractions, no action whatsoever, to baby in 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
God is good.
Yeah.
God created your body to heal and function 100% and use no interference. And all we did was just remove the interference of whatever was going on to interfere with her body's ability to do that. She worked so hard and came so far to have that natural birth that I just wanted to make sure that happened, and I was praying, all throughout the morning and just believing that she was going to have this kid the way that she wanted to, and it happened. And, it's something that I never thought I would ever experience in my life, but I was so excited to be able to be a part of. We actually still keep in contact. So I know things like that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But, yeah.
What is your view of I talked a little bit at the beginning of the show. I mean, Oklahoma ranks 7th on the national obesity rates and everything. What's your view of the overall state of health in Oklahoma right now?
Well, in Oklahoma and the entire United States, 5 out of 6 Americans are dying of heart disease and cancer. Unfortunately, the rates are going up every single day. And 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women are predicted to have cancer. Right now, this generation of kids is the first generation expected to not outlive their parents. And that really just truly breaks my heart. And it has a lot to do with, how we take care of ourselves, some of the excuses that we make. There's a lot of different things that play into that. But that was one of my missions and passions, is really to reach out to as many people as I possibly can to teach them, how to avoid heart disease, how to avoid cancer, and how to be able to get their health and life back and not end up that 5 out of 6. Because unfortunately, when people think about retirement, like, how do you really picture retirement? Where do you picture yourself?
Gosh, I don't even really think about it that much. So I assume I'm probably going to be hooked up to a machine keeping me alive or something. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people picture themselves just, on high blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, in a nursing home, and that this is just how it's going to be, and that's what happens when you get older. It's a common thing, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
It's all about quality of life versus quantity. And it just really breaks my heart to see that we've come to a point here in Oklahoma and in the United States in general that we've just come to accept that's just the way it is, that our bodies were created to be sick and suffering, when that's not true. I have a lady in my office right now who's about to turn 90 years old, she's healthier coming into my office than, some 20-year-olds.
Sure.
And that's sad, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I mean, that statement that you made, it blows my mind that this is this generation is not expected to outlive their parents. I mean, I had not heard that. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it all starts with the parents. How you are eating is how they're going to eat. If you exercise, they'll exercise. It's being an example. But what's happened is more and more children are being put put on cholesterol-lowering medications. They have clogging in their arteries already. The number one killer in kids is cancer, and more kids are being put on psychiatric drugs, and it just breaks my heart because, you know, these are the people who later on are going to be taking care of us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary when you think about that.
Yeah, I know the medication thing is controversial in a lot of ways, and I've actually, you know, I try to not be medicated for as much as I possibly can. I try to look now at other alternatives, but I know nutrition is a big part of what you do, and the right nutrition can keep you from having to use a lot of the medications that seem to be required now, correct?
Absolutely. And first off, I want to say that, you know, I'm not trying to bash medicine or anything like that. It absolutely has a time and it has a place in an emergency situation. But the problem is we've become so reliant on it for every single symptom that we have. So your symptoms that you have are warning signs that your body's not healing and functioning 100%. And what we need to do is we need to figure out why isn't your body healing and functioning 100% versus, oh, this is the symptom you have. Okay, it falls into this diagnosis. Let's give you this medication. It absolutely treats the symptom. However, it's not going to fix why you're having that symptom in the first place. So the cause is still there and it continues to progress. And so our goal is to get to the cause, whether it's damage to the nerves, whether it's something in your nutrition. So, you know, when it comes to nutrition and we look at things like high blood pressure and high cholesterol, for instance, a lot of nutrition has to do with that because of inflammation in the body. And the top 3 things that cause inflammation are sugar, bad fats, and toxins. And so we take a look at, okay, what are you eating? And if they're eating sugar, then we find replacements like stevia or xylitol, getting rid of bad fats, like vegetable oil, canola oil. Those are all rancid bad fats that create inflammation in your body, and we replace them with things like coconut oil or grapeseed oil. So it's one of those things that people can still have the things that they love. It's just changing some ingredients and things like that. And, you know, when it comes to sugar, I think that's like the biggest thing, and that people struggle with in their day-to-day lives, from sodas to candies and cakes and cookies and sweets. It's an addiction, but it creates inflammation. So what happens with the inflammation is the blood vessels inflame from the outside in, narrowing it, so what has to go up? The blood pressure, right? And so instead of giving you a blood pressure medication to lower it, which your body's naturally doing that as a protective mechanism, you're just removing that whenever you do that. Well, also, when your body's in a constant state of inflammation, it constantly thinks it's trying to heal something. And so one of the components of healing is cholesterol. So your body releases that cholesterol. And we've all been made to think that cholesterol is bad when in fact it's good. But if your body's in a constant state of inflammation and you're constantly pumping out that cholesterol, of course your cholesterol is going to go up. And then if you just put cholesterol medication on top of that, and you don't get rid of the cause of why you're having that, then again, you're harming your own body because that was your body's natural way to sustain itself.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody's listening and they want to start making subtle changes to overall health, where should they begin?
Getting rid of sugar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Getting rid of sugar and getting adjusted. I think those are the top 2 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like I've tried to cut out sodas. You know, I'll have one every now and then, but I mean, I've really reduced, and I've certainly cut out energy drinks because I was dependent upon energy drinks, and I know, well, there's issues related to that, and I just decided it probably wasn't good for me at my age to be sucking down energy drinks all the time. So,
right.
So what would be a next step for me? You know, if I've done those things, where do I go from here?
If you've already changed decreasing the sugar?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I mean,
number one, you know, you want to get your spine and your nervous system checked because that's what runs and controls everything.
Yeah.
I can teach you the best nutrition and exercise in the world, but none of that matters if I'm blocking the signal from your brain to your heart. And so by removing that interference and restoring the signal from the brain back to the heart is most important. Because if there's pressure on that nerve and I feed you a salad or throw you on a treadmill, neither one of them are going to matter because what's still happening to the heart is still decreasing in function.
Right.
So the first step would be to get an evaluation of your spinal nervous system to check to see if you have that going on.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of your other activities. As I mentioned earlier, you're on the Sports Council, and you've worked with a number of athletes in the U.S. teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We had over 150 of our doctors go over to London for the Olympics, and we worked with the athletes over there with adjusting them. Kayla Harrison is probably who most people are familiar with. She actually was the first woman to medal in judo, medal gold in judo while we were there. So that was really awesome. We actually, coming up, we have Rio will be coming up in 2016. So I'm super excited to go over there and work with the weightlifters,
cool.
the wrestling team while we're over there. So that's going to be super exciting. But the same, nutrition and exercise and stuff that we do with the Olympic athletes, it's the same exact thing that you'll get as a patient in our office. So literally when you come into the office, it's Olympic level care.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's got to be fun for you to be able to get out of the office and go to all these exotic locales with the U.S. national teams.
Well, who doesn't love to travel, right?
Well, yeah.
And also have the opportunity to be able to work with the best, athletes in the world. It's phenomenal. And, to be able to experience that is truly amazing.
Yeah, very good. Dr. Ortiz, thank you for coming in and providing some knowledge for us on health and wellness and just overall good living. And we appreciate you taking the time to do this. You can find out more about Dr. Shauna Ortiz if you visit her website, frontierfamilychiropractic.com. And anywhere else they can get a hold of you?
Our office is 405-470-6415. So if they have any questions for me at all, feel free to give me a call, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. My email address also is drshaunaortiz@gmail.com.
And you do a lot of speaking and overall wellness programs as well, and you've got a big event coming up in November, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Our next big event is our Cancer Killer Makeover, and this is a time where we teach people what cancer is in the first place. A lot of people, when they hear the word cancer, then they immediately go into a state of fear. And once they really know and understand what cancer is, then there's really nothing to fear. It's just a matter of getting to the cause. So we go through what causes cancer in the first place, how to avoid it, if you already have it, what you can do naturally to reverse that. There's several different things that we'll cover, but specifically on this event, we're going to be focusing on women and their health and wellness.
Okay, that sounds great. And people can find information about that on your website?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Mm-hmm. And that website again is frontierfamilychiropractic.com, or you can call the office 470-6415 and get more information about getting checked out, getting adjusted, finding out more about your nutrition, or attending the seminar in November. Dr. Ortiz, thank you once again for coming in and being on the OKC show.
Thank you, Jason, for having me today.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of the OKC show. We hope that you'll listen next time. I'm Jason Baffrey. We are out of here.
The OKC Show is a production of Destiny Creative.